Okay, so the first question that we ask everyone is how did you encounter Christ or where did Christ find you?
Um, I believe that, that's a good question. I think I found Christ in a jail cell, actually. I was in Tulsa County for 10 months. And when I first got there, I was detoxing um, from meth. And I just knew that, and alcohol. And I just knew that I needed something different. Like I lost hope for my life. And I had met actually numerous people that were reading the Bible, and most of them were my cellmates and stuff. So we'd have Bible study and stuff together. And so slowly but surely, I started reading like Job and things like that. But I kind of always knew that Christ has been with me. Like my dad, when I was a child, my dad and his side of the family, very deep rooted in the church. And so as a child, I was at church every day because my aunt worked at the church. So we did choir practice, and I was in choir, and I was just really deep rooted in the church. Sunday school and Bible study, and four days out of the week we were there. So, but as I got older, I kind of separated. And yeah, that's pretty much where I.
So you accepted Christ as a child?
Yes, I was baptized when I was 11 years old at my dad's church. And I didn't really know what it meant, though, so yeah, I didn't really have a deep understanding. I just knew, like, God was good, and it was just very vague, not really, we read the King James Version Bible, and as a child, I was like, what? Yeah. So, it was kind of difficult for me to understand, but it's definitely made a difference as I gotten older. Now that I didn't even know there were different versions of the Bible, strangely enough, till I went to jail. But when I started reading a different version that I could understand, I was able to get closer, I believe, to Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you said as you got older, you separated?
Yeah, I was, I guess what you would call a at-risk or troubled teenager, even though I wasn't like, not in my household per se, but like just my friends. I always hung out with the kids that got in trouble and things like that. And that eventually led me into drinking and drugs and things, especially when my dad passed away when I was 19. I had just graduated high school, and he actually passed away 6 months before I graduated. And it took me a whole nother semester to graduate, because I just couldn't, for some reason I was having some kind of traumatic block, and I couldn't walk into the school without breaking down. I don't know what it was about, but eventually I did go back to school, and I did finish with my diploma, graduated with a 3.8 GPA, and went on to college. But that's when I started getting involved in drugs, like hard drugs, meth, and drinking a lot. And that's when my life started going downhill.
Okay. And so you mentioned that you found Christ in jail?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what led up to the jail?
Okay, okay, this is kind of a long story. So when I was 24 years old, I met my child's father when I was drinking and drugging, and I got pregnant the first night I was with him. and I had my daughter, and her name was Carabelle. And I was having trouble. I was still struggling with drugs. And so when she was born, my mom got guardianship of her. But then I sobered up, and I started going to culinary school. And I was really just I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was just like, I need to do something so I can support my daughter. But when I ended up going to culinary school, I was very good at it. I won awards at state level, third in nationals. Yeah, so I was like just a natural born, I guess, cook, chef. My dad was too, so that might be where I got it from. But I started to slip backwards and fall back into addiction. So I signed up to go to rehab. But my rehab to the intake was on the 19th of January. And on January 10th, a fire broke out at my house, and it was in my bedroom. Me and my daughter were asleep on the bed together, and my daughter passed away from smoke inhalation. So after that, I just didn't find have a reason, I felt like, to better my life or do anything. Like, I was raised like, you know, your children are everything. So when you lose that everything, what do? You know? And so when I lost her, I felt like I lost my purpose in life, you know? So it was a very difficult time for me. I ran the streets a lot. I was homeless for 8 months after. I slept under bridges, on other people's couches all the time. The homeless tents, I've slept in all of them. I know where all the panhandling hotspots and all that are, because of what I've been through, you know. Abandoned houses and things like that. And I just completely lost my self-worth. Like, I just felt like if it wasn't drugs, then get out my face. I don't want to have anything to do with you, you know. Many times I almost died out on the streets because I've gotten into fights with people, mostly men, and they beat me up and things like that. And eventually they released a warrant for my arrest for child neglect in September, of 2019. So that floored me. I was devastated. I was trying to figure out, like, how could they do that? Why would they do that? Yeah. So that just felt like something, already losing my daughter and then getting blamed for it. On top of that, it was just really like, I just remember it being like, I just remember screaming at the top of my lungs and just being like completely like, there's no way, you know? And eventually they caught up with me and I went to jail. They offered me, my first offer was 25 years, violent, so I'd have to do 85% of that time. And actually before that, when I went to my preliminary, they tried to make it first degree murder. But that didn't end up happening. There was just no way they could do that. And so after that, the 20 years, my mom, she has been a rock for me, you know, a lot. Like, the whole time I was in jail, she was calling programs, and when I would talk to her, I'd be like, Mom, I'd be crying to her, they just offered me 20 years, you know, and she was like, no, we don't accept that. Yeah. We don't accept that. And then towards the end of my 10 months, they offered me 15, nothing less than 15, on an 85% violent. And so my mom was like, no, we still don't accept that. And I was like, I'm going all the way to trial because I just don't feel like, but at the end, I end up getting adjudicated to just the beginning. And through them, with my mom's hard petitioning. Yeah, I know. The interceding mother. I'm writing a poem about her right now, but
I can't wait to hear.
yeah. So yeah, my mom, I mean, she's a door knocker. She'll go, yeah, she's making phone calls and everything. I love her. But just the beginning came and interviewed me, and then the same day they accepted me. Yeah, I know. And I actually applied for women in recovery, and they were like, they took another girl with my charge. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So they'll take my charge. And they were like, no, because of the nature of my charge. And I was like,
that don't make sense.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So I was just like, I'm gonna just have. I was like, if I go to prison, but thank God I got adjudicated to just the beginning. And I remember in the interview, Miss Janice said, I didn't think I got it actually. She was like, no. But she was like, read Job, and I'm gonna get back to you. So I was reading Job, and I remember I called my mom, and she was like, yeah, you got accepted. And I was like, yay. So ever since then, I just haven't looked back. I remember asking God in jail, if you get me out of this, I can't look back. There's nothing to go back to. And when I started coming to Going Hard for Christ Church, hearing the part of the pastor's story, I still don't know all of it, but I know that, he's been through some similar things that I have. And I was like, wow, if he can turn his life around and make something, then why can't I? And then backed with Miss Janice's program, like all the things it's just taught me, empowerment, substance abuse, like just breaking cycles that I didn't even know that I was stuck in, completely changing my thinking. Like, it's just, whenever I discovered and created a personal relationship with Christ, through all the things that I've been doing, that's when I had like a renewed sense of everything, this doesn't mean my life is over, and it's not about my case. I'm now starting my own business. My business is called Bell's Bakery. I named it after my daughter, and it's a small batch bakery and catering service. And it's dedicated to serving quality and innovative dishes to the public. And I have the future goal of employing justice-involved women so that they can, so I can break the cycle of recidivism, or help break it at least, so these women don't feel like they have to go back to doing what they were doing, I want them to be able to build a career to see if culinary, like for me, was therapy. Maybe it could be therapy for some of these other women, and it's just a great skill to have, not only in the career field, but it's also a great skill to have, at home, just cooking for your family, knowing that you're able to provide can build, confidence in yourself, So I'm really excited about where I want to head. I'm really excited about my future and what I want to do. So that's where my focus is, on vertical and forward.
Yes, I like that, vertical and forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's go off the Bell's Bakery. So where are you in that process?
Right now, I am trying to get into the Kitchen 66 launch program.
Yes, I've heard about them.
Yes. And so I believe that I can do it. I believe that I can get in there. So I'm working on that for them. That's actually this week. So
Well, we'll get you on.
thank you. But I do have some customers currently District 5 City Councilman wants me to do a community meet and greet every month. Yay! And then I'm also doing some things for CAP Tulsa, catering some events for them in March. And so I'm slowly but surely I'm climbing up there. But I just think about when they say the blessing is in the remembrance, you know, if you told me a year ago I'd be here, nah, you're crazy. You're out your mind. I don't know what you thought this was. But I mean, 6 months ago, I got out. And I just haven't stopped, haven't looked back. I just keep pushing forward. Okay, one thing I remember, hey, my way didn't work, you know? Right. My way did not work. So I was like, all right, let's try something. You want a new result? You got to do something different. Yeah. So that's what I've been doing. And God has been it for me. Yeah.
All right, so to go back in the story a little bit, we've had people who've had various addictions, and they tell us about that first time. So that first time when you took the meth, what was that experience like?
Well, the first time I did meth, I was with my middle school friend, and she had been doing it since she was 16. And so before I would like shun her for it and things like that. And then I remember I had just got my school check. Lord help me. Lord help me. Yeah, I just got my school check. And so I went and picked her up and I was like, what do you want to do? And she was like, you don't want to do what I want to do. And I was like, I think I do. So that ended up being my first time. We went to go get some, and I just remember flat ironing my hair for like 12 hours straight and just doing stupid stuff. But yeah, that was my first time. After that, I just remember spiraling out of control. Like, gotta get another fix. And I remember when I was out of high school, I was like 180 pounds. And by the end of that same month, I was like 120 pounds from not eating. The longest I went without eating or sleep was 13 days. Wow. Yep. So, yeah, I was very deep in it. It's like, it's one of those things that just grabs you, and it's really hard to get out of its grasp, you know? So I just thank God, you know, because I was at that pivot point, you know, like it could get real, it could go from worse to worser, you know, but God, you know, so I'm just grateful. I'm grateful.
Oh, you seem free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like she is
free.
Yeah.
Okay, so back in the day, so you say you were homeless, you're sleeping on bridges, and you get in fights. So what was this about? Was it drug related, or what was?
Because from being homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was drug related. I've always had a roof, you know, at my mom's house. I've always had a roof. You know, she would never turn me away. But after my daughter passed away, I just didn't want contact. I just didn't want to be around anybody. I was mad. It was so many emotions. Yeah, it was just like, it was just a point of devastation for me. And it was just like, I don't want to be around anybody. I don't want to comfort anybody. I don't want to be comforted. You know, I just want to just let me do what I do. Just let me get high and, you know, and try to exist, you know. Maybe I die, maybe I don't. At the point, I really didn't care. I remember at one point, I was being choked. This guy was choking me, like seriously trying to hurt me. And I remember just feeling like I couldn't gasp in air and like having no fear. Like just this feeling of like, okay, I get to be with my daughter now. You know, It was just like, take me on out. Yep, just go ahead. You know, I didn't care. You know, I'd do anything to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter. You kill me or I kill you or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it was just a crazy feeling. I had no regard for anybody else's life anymore. You know what I mean? So it was just, those low points where you feel like, when I got arrested, I was like, oh God, this is it, but it ended up being the thing that saved my life. They said because I had drugs in my system that I failed to save her.
Wow.
Because me and her were in the fire together. And the first 3 days after the fire, I was on life support, like a machine was breathing for me. By the time I had woke up, the room was engulfed. And I just remember looking up and I saw the moon and I punched the window and I jumped out. And my brother comes around the house and he's like, where's Carabelle? And my heart just sinks and I just run. I just remember running, and I remember putting my hand on the door of the front of the house and pulling, and then I don't remember anything after that. But I know I went into the house to save her because I have like pictures of my my bloody handprints going down the wall. I have, you can't see it with this jacket on, but I have cuts here where they had to stitch me up. I lost so much blood that I collapsed, and for a long time I had really bad flashbacks and nightmares. If I smell smoke, it still makes me a little anxious. But yeah, that's the reason why they decided to charge me.
So for the people at home, can you explain what the process of adjudicated means?
Yeah, adjudication is where you are serving time under DOC supervision, but you don't have to go to prison. Instead, you're diverted to a program that is pretty much like a rehabilitation program. It's a substitute for prison, but you get to be free and function like you would outside. Yeah.
I think that's so much better.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely rehabilitation instead of incarceration. Definitely so much better. I just what do you do when you did something wrong, then you go to prison and then you get out and the only thing you know to do is something wrong. Yeah. So you go back to prison and then it just doesn't stop. Just the endless cycle. And it's like, why would you not try to get to the root of, okay, why is this happening? What is your train of thought? Where is that missing piece? Mm-hmm. So we can try to, recover it, so you can actually be a functioning taxpayer in the community, stimulate economic growth instead of just being a number,
Because we know they like that tax money.
Yeah.
So the process of working with just the beginning and with Janice. So what skills is she teaching the ladies?
Definitely empowerment. I think that, how do I answer this question? Miss Janice has taught me so much. Like, just being around her has been, it's been life-changing. I don't really know how to explain it in words, but I know that I don't think the same. She gives me these tools and things to put in, we call it our toolbox, but so you don't have to, go back to doing, stinking thinking and, the things that get you in trouble. And I just know that it works. It works for me. I remember my first, when I got out of jail and I had a situation, nothing serious, but I've always struggled with anger. But I remember Janice telling me, you pray, you need to pray. And I was like, pray ain't gonna, they need to pray, But I took her advice, and then I just remember this calming feeling, just peace washing over me. And I was like, Oh my goodness. So I've started reading my Bible every day, and the 1 year Bible, and she's just kept me like focused, like, okay, this is how you operate in purpose. Just watching her, you know what I mean, has helped me, like, okay, this is what's okay, this is what's not okay, you know what I mean, like, and just taking those steps. And you know, she doesn't mind correcting you, you know, but she's not mean about it. She's just like, hey, you need to get it together. You know. But yeah, it's just been an enlightening experience.
I would ask is, what would you say to someone who find themselves where you found yourself 6 months ago?
Like when I got into the program?
No, when you found yourself in jail.
Oh, when I found myself in jail. I would say just, I know it's hard staring at the same color and being trapped in a box, but do not lose hope. Like, just keep praying, keep being diligent about, you know, seeking God, you know, and he will find you wherever you are. He will leave the 99, you know, he will find you. Every time I hear that song, that's what I think about, you know. I'm just like, I have to break down and cry.
Yeah.
I'm just like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
I am. I'm just like, oh my goodness. I'm just so grateful. And if I had to tell other people anything, it would be, yeah, just don't give up hope, because if I can go through it and get through it and still come back, I know you can. Yeah.
That's good. Was there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, I think that's it.
How did they hear about Bella?
Oh, Bell's Bakery. Bell's Bakery. You can look or see Bell's Bakery. I'm in mobile delivery. I come to you and cater until the brick and mortar coming to a Tulsa near you or city near you. You can find me on Facebook at Bell's Bakery Tulsa, or email me at bellsbakerytulsa@gmail.com.